Okay, so in my completely unsponsored opinion, I think therapy is good for all, especially Christians. And struggling with mental health issues isn't a matter of weak faith. It just means that there's stuff to work out in our salvation. So if you're to the point where you want to work on those issues, great job. I mean, that's a really big step. You might be wondering, is BetterHelp good for you? Especially if you're looking for faith-based counseling. And the answer is yes, it could be the solution you're looking for. So before we start, I want to tell you, I learned that Faithful Counseling was an online platform. It was just for faith-based counseling, all Christian therapists. And that company was acquired by BetterHelp in November 2023. So now, if you click on it, Faithful Counseling, it'll redirect you to BetterHelp, and that will give you a splash page that's specifically directed to Christian therapy. And what this does for us is that if you're looking for a Christian counselor, those who chose to stay with the system, that directory is now available to you. So when you first start BetterHelp, you're going to be automatically paired with a therapist that best fits your preferences. And don't worry about that automatic pairing because you can change it before you've even met with them. You just have to get in their system at first. And once you've been matched with a therapist, or if you're changing therapists and looking at the directory, just do your own research. There's really no highlighted way of telling if that therapist is Christian. There's not like a category that's available for you to see if you're looking for therapy. What you'll do is you'll look on each therapist bio and see if there's a statement of faith in there, or keywords like prayer or God or biblical-based perspectives, something like that, to be able to tell if they're Christian. If you're concerned about finding a therapist that's solid in terms of their faith, I would challenge you to think about, is this a barrier you do need to listen to, or is this an excuse for not working on your issues? I can't answer that question for you. That's something you got to think about. So don't feel afraid of finding someone who's not necessarily Christian or just spiritual or might lead you astray. You can always change the therapist. And you should also know that therapists, you can ask them to deal with a certain issue or lead you a certain way. And if they don't respect that, that's when you do change therapists again. So they should be respecting your beliefs in the way that you want to be led in your issues. And that applies to all therapists, religious or not. So to change a therapist, I'll just show you that. To do that, you first have to sign in. And then from your therapy dashboard, there should be a button that says Change Therapist. From there, BetterHelp will ask you why you want to change your therapist. And there's actually a button that says, I need someone who's faith-based in their therapy. Just click that, and that'll give you an access to more of their inventory of therapists, their directory. So you can go there and then look at the bios and choose one that looks a little bit more like what you're looking for. You can do that once you've already have an account, but first you got to get in their system. So to do that, you click Get Started and then click Individual for individual therapy, and you'll be directed to an intake assessment. And that's where they'll collect all of your information, your history, the issues you want to address in therapy. And you'll also select preferences, like do you want to work with a male or a female? What's your time availability? And that's also where you'll select, I want to work with a Christian therapist. So when I selected that, I was actually really impressed by how many questions there were in that intake form in terms of how much do I want faith to play a role in my therapy experience. It asks really specific questions like how much do you engage in prayer, how much does your faith mean to you, how long have you been practicing faith, what's your denomination, all of that stuff. And after that online intake assessment, that's where you'll be paired with that therapist. And you can start therapy that day if you want, and if that therapist has availability in their schedule. So that whole process is so much better than going through wait lists and researching counselors and insurance and all of that stuff, especially when you're dealing with something like depression, which just kills your motivation. BetterHelp can get you help literally that same day. And what it looks like is that it's a weekly scheduled video or a voice call. Plus, it offers messaging through their online app. And you can participate in group stuff too, though I didn't do that. I wasn't interested in finding those. What I like about BetterHelp is that it's so time effective. The time effective was the most helpful part because I'm a mom and I was dealing with some postpartum issues, and I could just do this from home at a time that worked for me. I found a therapist that could meet with me after my husband came home and took my baby. So it was also cost effective. This BetterHelp doesn't use insurance, but it does use FSA and HSA cards. And if you pay a little more upfront, you can get a lower weekly price. And it is a subscription service, so the best way to take advantage of that is to make sure you always schedule weekly with your therapist. That gives you the best price in terms of weekly average of what you're paying. So if you've done much research with BetterHelp, you might have noticed there's some controversy in the news, and especially on YouTube, in terms of is BetterHelp safe and all that stuff. What happened is, it sounds like there was some data leaks from BetterHelp to social media companies for the purpose of advertising, targeted advertising. And that claim was substantiated. BetterHelp paid a sum to settle that. And so now you'll see on your browser, there's a permissions. When you first log in, you give permission. And that should be better regulated now, this year in 2024. But that's something to consider. There's also controversy in terms of the low quality of therapists or your experience. And for that, I would suggest reading other articles or reading other videos about those experiences. But for me, it was a really helpful experience for BetterHelp. I just needed someone with experience who wasn't my husband or my baby to talk to. I was experiencing postpartum depression, like I said, anxiety, and experiencing fallout from old trauma issues. And I actually had 2 counselors I was paired with, different sessions of it. I had one counselor in the spring, and then I went back on and had another counselor in the fall. And the current counselor I'm with is from the same denomination as and I found her so helpful. So I think that the experience you have on BetterHelp really depends on your therapist and what you want to get out of therapy. For me, it was just really helpful to have someone to check in with every week. And especially for this current therapist, I could tell that she really cared about my heart, my mind, and my relationship with Jesus, my family. She truly cared. And that made a world of difference for me this fall. Another personal thought I want to share with you as you're evaluating, do I go on BetterHelp or do I not? If you're a Christian considering online therapy, I just encourage you to let God direct you in this. He cares about your heart and your mind and your relationships and everything about you, and he really cares about this decision. As I was praying and figuring out, what do I do? Do I go back into therapy and all that stuff? Last year, it was December 2022, my husband challenged me and said, I think you're looking to therapy as a solution instead of trusting God as your healer. And he was right. I'm really blessed to have a husband who could say that. And so I waited on therapy, and actually I experienced a miraculous healing from God in terms of my depression. But in the working out of that healing, I did end up needing some help. So that's when I got on BetterHelp in the spring. In the fall, I experienced another miraculous healing that just furthered that healing with depression and anxiety. And I was asking God, do I need to not do therapy? Do I need to stop therapy as an expression of my trust that my healing was complete? And I felt like he personally said to me, do therapy with the gal I'm working with. I am the healer. Just a food for thought. God cares about what you're going through, and if you have access to the God of the universe, you can trust that he'll lead you in your therapy decision. So leave a comment below. I'd love to know what you're thinking and processing in regards to this decision.